Benim sorum şu olacak. Yani peki bu trendleri takip etmek için Türkiye'deki perakendeciler ne yapmalı? Onlara ne önerirsiniz?
Thank you. That's a great question. And I just want to say very quickly before we answer the question, we didn't want to come here and claim that we know your business. You know your business. Each and every one of you in the audience is so highly skilled at what you do. And as Jared said, really what we wanted today was just to give you even one or two things that really that you gravitate towards and that you can run with. So I just wanted to say that because it's our job to know the future, but it is your job to really know your business. And when it comes to actionable strategies for the future, the first thing that I would say, and I'm sure many of you have an understanding of this, and it's really knowing how distribution channels work. And so many of us, whether you are in retail or whether you even are in what we do, are afraid that when a new technology is introduced, it will render that which came before obsolete. And we talk about omni-channel, and we know that when we look at the entire 360 of what's happening, it doesn't subtract from that which came before, but rather we have a unique opportunity to really multiply. That it's not the brick and mortar is going away, it's figuring out how to effectively integrate that with what is happening with technology. So it's thinking in terms of multiplication and not subtraction. And the other part of this is not being afraid of when new incumbents come onto the scene or traditional players. It's really welcoming and embracing change and figuring out what your own kind of unique value proposition is.
Something else I would say it's very important here is understanding that those of you in the room are not necessarily representing small companies, but in many cases you are very small compared to the largest players out there in retail and grocery. And so when you think about what you can do as a smaller player versus being a hyper or a mega player, you have a great opportunity here. Large players can afford to invest in many of the technologies we talked about today. Now, you may not be in a position to invest in all of those, but you might be in a position to invest in a few. And so you have to strategically select the few that you think might be most interesting and then pursue those. And we see this in different sectors, not just yours, that the world of startups and entrepreneurship and small businesses is disrupting larger business every single day. So you are in a unique position where I would say don't respond to these trends by being scared of them. Embrace them and understand that this is probably why most of you will have an opportunity to succeed in the future. And the other way that you're going to do that is based on the last thing we discussed, which is knowing who your future customer actually is. The best way to stay on top of this is to understand that your future customer is going to be in large part Generation Z, the kids that are growing up today, who are now becoming of age as adults and will start to consume things at retail very, very differently. So if you cater what you do with your technology to an audience that has grown up with that technology, it changes the value proposition dramatically.
And just to add one more quick thing to that is oftentimes we always think about the younger generations and catering to their needs, but one of the other things that we're increasingly seeing is the extension of life and the tail end of the age spectrum. We see a rapidly growing aging population that is not rapidly adopting the technologies like the younger generations. So understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy and creating different strategies for different demographic groups just based on comfort levels, but also spending power and spending behavior.